Welcome to another CEO Wisdom Pod. We have my friend Juan Luis Betancourt. He is still CEO at Humantelligence, and this guy is just wild. That we were talking about his cousin that has a ketone business. We were talking about his grandfather that revolutionized the plastic surgery industry from Cuba. I love this guy's energy, and he was so different last time we had him on the pod. No filter, high IQ and EQ, I would describe him, and always really high energy and ambition. So glad to have Juan again on the pod. Juan, for those that missed the last one, can you tell us a bit more about yourself and what you're up to nowadays?
Yeah, so I live in Miami. Grew up in the U.S., Cuban American from D.C. area. Went to good schools in the Northeast. Left the U.S. at 22 for 20 years. Speak 5 languages like English, and then came back and now run a startup called Humantelligence, which is basically AI that is transforming talent management, talent development, leadership, and collaboration for any organization.
Right. Changing mic as we speak. You should hear me better. How's Humantelligence? Because last time we spoke, it was almost brand new or you were in growth phase. So what happened last year with Humantelligence?
Yeah, so we had a really cool product, which this probably happens with a lot of startups, that we would integrate a psychometric test, like a personality test, and the results into an email like Outlook or into Slack or into a virtual meeting, where in those platforms, seamlessly, you could click and get insights. So you're in a meeting, virtual Microsoft Teams meeting or Zoom, click, and it'll tell you the dynamic of the meeting and say, Charles, you're going to butt heads with Mary, and here's how you avoid that. Or Charles, everyone's deliberate, you're decisive. Here are ways of making the meeting run better. Or you write an email, push our button, the email gets rewritten for the audience. Groundbreaking. But then we spent 2 years, and that was the last time I spoke to you, not being able to close any deals. And if you want, I can go into the 5 reasons why that product was never going to see the light of day.
Yeah, good. Go on. Please do.
Yeah, so often hindsight's 2020. So we were positioning as AI for smarter collaboration. The problem is, who's the buyer? There is no head of collaboration at a corporate enterprise, at any company. But when you're selling learning management software, you sell to the head of learning and development. You sell supply chain software, optimization software, you're selling to the head of supply chain. Basically, if the title is not in what you do, there is no buyer. And with no buyer, there was no budget. But the product was still slick. So we still got false positive, got traction to do trials. So then they'd say, we're going to trial it in HR. And let's say the 10 people who saw the demo want to trial it. Then they'd say, well, wait, it's a plugin. We got to get IT to turn it on. Oh, no, you can't trial it because IT will take 6 months to do a security review. And then let's say they do approve it. The product's good for people you don't know, but if 10 people in HR know each other, they're not going to really use it. So you can never really trial it for what it was for. And then lastly, because it's a plugin, there are lots of buttons on Outlook and lots of buttons on Microsoft Teams. You need training. The worst thing for scaling a software at a company is if you have to train people. For all those 5 reasons, I went back to my company a year ago and I said, you guys, this isn't working. Make it idiot-proof and addictive like crack cocaine. There's one product out there in the world that got to 1 billion users in 2 months with no salespeople, selling it and no marketing. And that's ChatGPT. Make it the interface of the little open bar where you can ask any question about any human being, any 2 people, or any division at a company in that little bar, and the AI will answer the question based on everyone's psychometrics. We changed to that 6 months ago. It's been gangbusters ever since.
How gangbuster? Give us some statistics. How many users? How many paid users? And is it the type of ChatGPT growth you expected?
Yeah, so we got it working 6 months ago, went to market October 15th. So it's really fresh. It's literally 3 months in market. And at least in the US, nobody works from December 15th to January 15th. So limited data, but we should in February, all the trials will be coming to fruition. We'll get moving to sales. So in the last 6 years of the other products we've had, 20 demos would lead to 10 companies saying they wanted to trial it, which would lead to 1 actually trialing it. So 20 to 1 to a trial.
And what's the price tag of Humantelligence?
The price is easy. It's between $1 to $5 per person per month. So for the price of a cup of coffee, everybody has more emotional intelligence. Everybody works better together, collaborates better. Every leader is a better leader, just for the price of a cup of coffee per person per month. So
And how do you
now
justify the ROI of like better emotional intelligence?
well, so the how do we value the ROI? We tell them, look, you already invest in personality tests, right? You already pay $20 for DISC or predictive index or strain finders or whatever product they buy, and they get used once for some workshop you do with the team. Nobody ever looks at it again or uses it again. Our tool gets used on average 20 times a month per employee. So that's over 400 times a year more ROI than the existing tools. So, so whatever they value existing assessment tools, this is 400 times more valuable and less expensive. And so today, though, the results are we do 20 demos. 19 say they want to trial it, and about 17 actually do trial it. So right now we have about 60 trials going on from like 80 demos, right? So it's going really well. And existing clients have already moved over to the new platform. So our existing clients love it. They've become raving fans.
Right. And how I see it is that you're the bridge to major human intelligence that could potentially compete with future AGI, which is really finding out who works well together and magnifying that. We often talk about A players and the fact that this software engineer performs 100x more than that one. What we don't often talk about the fact that if you put people that fit the same psychometrics in the same room, 1 + 1 may equal 5.
Yep. And so our AI, we're moving towards the following types of things. Today, you can ask questions, either on your phone or typing, how do I work with Mary? So 2 people in the system analyzes and gives an answer. Or how do I engage this new employee, a Gen Z, or what types of projects do I give them? It'll give you the answer. Or you have a new team and you're onboarding the new team. How do I manage this team? How do I motivate this team? How do I train this team? If you're doing change management for 20,000 employees, where are the divisions and the gaps who are not change oriented? And it'll answer that question in seconds. Who are the 5 most change oriented people to lead internally the change management project? All the way to the point of here are 1,000 software engineers. These 300 are the best performing ones. These 300 are the poorest. Here's the job spec for that kind of role. Here are 4,000 applicants. Who should we hire? And instead of doing 4 months of recruiting, the AI will literally take the data and the insights from the high performers versus the low performers, then the job spec and all the applicants, and tell you hire these 5. Imagine M&A and due diligence. You're a company going to buy a company. So company A is the buyer, and they could buy either company B, C, or D. Imagine dumping in the psychometrics from the due diligence, say, hey, AI, and in 5 seconds, which of the 3 companies should we buy that's most aligned to our culture that's going to fit the best? And instead of it being a 6-month nightmare where the culture doesn't integrate and the company is a flop, you now can avoid buying the wrong company. Imagine looking at 3 manufacturing plants. Plant A, 10% defects. Plant B and C, 2% defects. Put the data in the AI and basically say, why are there more defects in Plan A? And it actually telling you why the culture of the people in Plan A are leading to the defects. This is the future of talent analytics with AI leading to real business challenge answers that used to cost millions of dollars and months of research subjectively by companies like McKinsey or BCG, et cetera.
And is high performance more of an art than a science? Can we actually make it a predictable science? It seems that on my side, as a biohacker and someone that is very much all about high performance, I may get at best 3 days out of 7 in which I'm in perfect flow state. It varies. I can't have like 7 on 7 in which I'm very, very high performance and in flow state. What do you think about that?
Well, I think for any role at a company or team at a company, if you have enough data, you can compare that on average, this person with this type of profile performs better than this type of profile. So if you have 100 employees doing one type of role, you can see insights that explain performance on average. Now, any one of those high performers might have a bad day, might have a bad week. So it doesn't say it's going to be high performing every day, but on average, you can identify profiles for individuals, profiles for teams, profiles for whole divisions and companies, and leaders that are predictively more high performing than other profiles.
In your case, how do you maximize your own high performance on a daily basis?
Well, we were talking about it earlier before we started the podcast. I have reduced alcohol intake to only when I'm out socially, so I don't drink alone at home ever. I also avoid food coma by skipping lunch with this ketonade. I've never had breakfast since I was 10, but now to suppress hunger, I drink this and it gives me all the energy I need and mental acuity. And I fill my life with some things that keep me happy emotionally and spiritually. So I do a spiritual practice and kind of the tune up to the wheels of a car where the car drives like, you get a tune up, it's smooth. Same thing happens with the ego and the psyche. And if you can meditate every day, that's one way. And if you want to cheat and biohack meditation, you do an ayahuasca ceremony or psilocybin ceremony every quarter, and it'll realign you and keep you pretty aligned energetically for a couple months.
What insight did you get in your latest ceremony?
That's the last ceremony was less about my company, where most of my ceremonies are about how to leverage and scale my company. The last ceremony was how to hold space for my wife, and we have a very challenging relationship, but how to hold space without changing her, but hold space in a way that she will change on her own, that will create a more seamless and frictionless vibration as a couple and as a family. And so I got insights of how to manage my family dynamic where it's a higher vibration on average. There's never going to be in this dynamic always 100%, but if our average is 50%, to get it to like 80% on average. And so far, since 3 months, it's been working.
Nice. Yeah, I like giving others space to create their own changes, right? Because us OCD entrepreneurs always 1% better on a daily basis. We're used to fixing everything, right? Especially when it comes to emotions. My psychotherapist is like, are you gonna tell this person how to feel, how to have their emotions? No, because humans in emotions, they're at their very base, right? So you can't really tell someone how to feel, how to change. Also, like women
or how to think, from how to feel to how to think, or how to change, or how to get from point A to B. Everybody does it differently, and it took me a while in my marriage, but with the help of spiritual practice, I now am able to influence her in this indirect way by just me vibrating differently and reacting differently to her.
Right. I like that. I've been watching Aaron Rodgers' documentary on Netflix. The episode number 2 is about ayahuasca. And not so long ago, I had my brother reach out. He was like, hey, did you do the ayahuasca back in days? I had a friend of mine that I did aya with that was like, yeah, we need to do it again. And yeah, I feel it's the moment. This year, probably going to head out south in Brazil, do an ultra race. And after that, going to head in a aya ceremony.
Remind me when we get off this podcast. I want to invite you, actually, Charles, to something. So remind me about that.
Yeah. And I have one of my friend and spiritual guide, Raha, that I was supposed to go to one of his retreats in either Canada or Hawaii. So I want to, we'll get in touch regarding that, because I was supposed to help him get more attendees to that one. So for this year, what is challenging for you, and how are you gonna surmount these obstacles for 2025?
Yeah. So, I also want to recommend one book to you and one podcast on spirituality that for this year, all your listeners should hear about it. Okay, so the biggest challenge for me 2025.
But recommend books and podcasts before you get to that.
Yeah, so one book is called Journey of Souls by Dr. Michael Newton. So not part 2, not part 3, just the first one. Came out in like 1990 or 1994. Journey of Souls by Dr. Michael Newton. It explains what happens between lives. It explains life like no other book you could ever have read. I used to have a list of 150 books because anybody I met who was spiritual or guru, give me your top 10 books. And I created a huge list. And then somebody said, you don't have this book on your list? And I said, what do you mean? I've asked all the smartest people and all the gurus. They said, Juan, this is the only book in life you ever have to recommend. And ever since then, it is the only book I recommend. And people literally tell me it transforms their lives. If you can understand what happens between lives as a soul in the other ether before you come back and take another life, another body, or sleeve, as they say, you will understand everything, and just it's the best thing in the world. Second thing, which I recommend, is a podcast. It's a podcast with it's called Next Level Soul Podcast with Alex Ferrari. I think it's spelled like the car, Ferrari. And he invited a guy named Richard Martini as the guest speaker on the podcast. Richard Martini actually today, every day, speaks to what he calls the flip side, those souls on the other side. So I had read Journey of Souls 5-6 years ago, changed my life, changed my perspective, my understanding. And I didn't know about this guy, Richard Martini. But my friend sent it to me last week, and it's like an hour, 20 minutes. Best podcast I've ever heard, because this guy brings to life literally talking to the other side. And it's impossible that it's not real. It is as real as you can imagine. And the insights, and they all mirror what the other researcher did 30 years ago. And it's amazing to hear what's happening today with these people. Anyways, those two things will give more clarity about life than any book, retreat, or anything someone could do. Maybe other than ayahuasca. Ayahuasca kind of makes you experience. Yeah.
Okay, before you answer the next question, do you feel that spirituality could be considered, or discovery of spirituality, do you view it as a technology or an exponential technology that could be as big as living forever or Neuralink, for example?
Yeah, so I believe it is a technology. It's almost like a gas for the car. Technology is the car. What's the gas? It's not a technology, but guess what? It is, because without the right kind of gas, you can't fuel the car. And the better the gas, the longer the car goes, the more fast it can go. So I believe spirituality is the gas to the human organism.
And we're going to discover potentially groundbreaking stuff in the next couple of years. 2025, what does it have for you? What challenges did you throw at yourself?
For my software company, I'm challenging myself. I've been at it for 8 years. We had to pivot 4 times. We've had many, many different versions of our product. We really believe this AI for talent management, this AI delivery, this user interface is the unicorn. I never thought I had a unicorn. I now believe I do. Never thought that our tool would be used by all companies. This tool will be. Hopefully it's our brand. But like Uber, there's now a Lyft, and there's Miyagi in Colombia, and there's different products, right? So every company in the world will use a tool like this. I hope it's ours. Now, because of that, and because I have a 4 and a 6-year-old, and because I'm tired of startup world, I have tasked myself or challenged myself that if we don't get to $2 million by the end of this year, I will sell the company and or close it down. So there's a lot of pressure. I'm also hiring for the first time a salesperson because I think I have failed miserably at sales. I'm a good visionary, and I can do the big showcase the first meeting, but that is very different than doing sales for the next 12 touch points. And so I actually just launched last week to hire a salesperson. So I'm going to be hiring a salesperson. I'll be giving them up to 10 to 15% of my company if they're successful selling, and then they will become CEO and take over from me. That's the biggest challenge that I've put to myself and to my company, because when you spend 9 years of your greatest wisdom years of life from 46 or 45 to 55, and you basically say, I will throw in the towel or this thing's taking off and it's binary, that's a pretty audacious challenge. And I actually feel nervous and scared for the first time in 10 years. Okay, 2, and I've told my team, they know that they might have to find new jobs at the end of the year if we don't make it work. 2, personally, in my marriage, we have a lot of challenge. It's not easy. We knew that getting married. I won't go into the reasons why we still got married, but it's been a lot harder, 10 times harder than we even both thought. So we're not sure there isn't, if
it's going to kill.
Right. We don't know if we're going to continue forever. So we need to figure that out. So my challenge is working with my wife making her feel safe to be able to discuss different exit options and different options for our family without it being friction and stressful and scary, because that will do not her any good or not me any good, or God forbid, not good for our children. So that is a massive challenge with like 12 equations and 1,000 unknowns. And then third is health. I've cut alcohol intake to zero. I'm at home, and only when I'm out socially with 2 young kids, I go out socially a week. So I'm not really drinking very much. I've decided to cut to lose 30 or 40 pounds. I've already lost 20 pounds. I'm using this ketone drink. I also now back to running. I used to be a marathon runner. Used to run a 406 mile. It was like one of the fastest guys in the world when I was 14 years old. So now I'm back to running about 4 to 5 miles at a 7-minute pace. So I do that every night. I don't care if it's raining. I don't care if it's cold. I'm disciplined, and I've got that joy back in running again. And I've already seen that it was hard as hell for the first month, but I'm now back into it's fun, and nothing's going to take me off of that. So those are the 3 biggest things. And then fourth, continue to read podcasts, read books, find things around spirituality, do a ceremony 1 or 2 a year. But that's not really a challenge. That's pure joy and bliss to kind of to tap into the spiritual realm.
Right. Yeah. How many ceremonies? I think like 50, you said. Like these are supposed to be hard.
Yeah. 15 years ago, I did one every month for 5 years. And then for 5 years, I did one every quarter. And then for this last 5 years, I've done one a year. Although last year I did 2. I did one, this chocolate modality where it's called Ma, and it's half DMT from ayahuasca and half psilocybin from mushrooms. But then I also did, to support some friends, but I got a lot of it too. The Huni Kuni tribe from Brazil was at Miami, and my shaman brought them. So I did a tea ceremony and a San Pedro ceremony back to back. So I did 2 weekends in 2024, and I'll do at least my annual where I host people this year in March in 2025, and maybe another ceremony at the end of the year.
So thanks for sharing all of that. That's what I like about you. You're so like authentic, and I'm gonna have a follow-up questions regarding this. But first, what's your philosophy with moonshots, right? Because you got 4 big goals, your gigantic, scary motherfucking goals. So I am a moonshotter as well. I don't have much fear, although when I think about my next Aya ceremony, I got the jitters watching Aaron Rodgers yesterday. I was like, yeah, gonna do it again. I told you about my recent panic attacks when I got sick, and that was fucked up. So it's like, oh, is that gonna resurge again during these fucking things? But
will that spiritual journey get to the source of where the panic attack comes from, and then you'll never have a panic attack again? That's what's could happen out of it.
Yeah, well, I didn't have any. I think it was like physiologically caused by the syrups, but I'm still investigating that. But I think it's gonna get to the bottom of it, and I'm the type of guy to go to the bottom. I mean, if I need to fix some shit, I'm gonna go to the goddamn bottom, whatever the pain is, right? So what's your philosophy with moonshots? Like, do they have to be scary? Is it fine if you don't reach all of these 4 goals? What's your philosophy with goal setting?
Well, first, it's personal to each person. Everyone has their own frameworks, their own way of motivating themselves, right? Like every diet plan is different for every person. Not all diets work for all people. I think, I like shooting for the moon and shooting for Mars, and if I hit the moon, it's still pretty audacious, right? So I put them big and out there. I also do make them like, I know that if I execute it at 90% on average every day, I'll be able to achieve them, right? So the Humantelligence one, I think I could achieve if I really get the right person and I really kind of like focus. I think with my wife, actually that one, I don't know. That's more complicated. That one I can't say I can get there 90%. That one's tricky. But I'm open to failing on a moonshot, right? Like I don't think failure is not bad. Like imagine what you accomplish on attempting it, right? Like so, imagine the football team that makes it to the Super Bowl and then they lose the Super Bowl. It's not a failed season. They're the second best team in the league. How great were they working together to achieve things? And like the next season they come back and win it, right? Like so. I don't know. I think you do need moonshots. I do think you need to break them into different categories. I think, if I had 100 moonshots, that'd be ridiculous. But, around the big items in life, right? Like career or company or work, love or family in my case, but love can be girlfriend or romance. Mine's family, my wife, and then health. I mean, that's where you want to focus your moonshots and be clear and track it every month. Don't not think about it. A lot of people don't think about it to the end of the year.
Yeah, I use ChatGPT, and there's a conversation just for my goals, to track on a daily basis if I'm achieving or not. And I also can chat about my concerns. Oh, my bodybuilding goals. Yesterday I didn't train hard enough. How can I include that more in my schedule, etc. So it's like having a business coach on a daily basis. It's a good little hack for your big moonshot goals.
You just mentioned something really important. It's like having a business coach, you said. I've always been amazed. All my friends and all the people I meet, they're like, Juan, why do you apply structure like you put into your business? Like, review of the year, review of the month, review of the week. Why do you put that kind of structure around business metrics and measuring your business model? Why do you do that with tracking friends in a spreadsheet and how often you talk to them? Why do you do that when it comes to your health and tracking your blood pressure every day? Why do you do it on your personal life? Isn't that stressful? I'm like, no, because if you're putting that kind of intensity and that kind of thought to make a business succeed, why the hell wouldn't you want to do that to make yourself succeed? I don't know why people invest more in somebody else's company and how to get the most results out of it and not do it for their own life. People really should apply what they do at work to their personal life and all their personal goals, because that's how you achieve it. Because if in business you're not measuring it, you'll never achieve it.
Fully agree with that, but I think you and I were biased, like us CEOs and founders were such go-getters, and everything that's obvious to us is not for most.
Yeah, my wife's a doctor. She doesn't do any of this.
Yeah, we are aliens, we live on different planets, I feel, but instead of that, and what I was about to mention with your spreadsheet is that you can now feed it to an AI, and the AI can make sense out of it. Oh, you had this because of that, right? And yeah, yes. We'll definitely do the blood pressure stuff. In my case, I tried to have ChatGPT analyze my poop to, like the gut quality that you have and the gut microbiome, but it wouldn't.
Okay, but how does it get the data on your poop?
No, but it's not, because it's like obscene for ChatGPT. They have and it's not just obscenity. It's the fact that they don't want to give medical advice. So if I upload an X-ray of my cancer, they would probably
it's all the
not
HIPAA rules. You can't take any personal medical information for anything.
Yeah, correct. And I'm trying to build such an app myself. I'm in the longevity space. That's my moonshot, at the intersection of AI and longevity. And we have a biological age calculator, right? So you can upload all your data in there. It can tell you your biological age, and Brian Johnson style, you can try to reduce it on a daily basis.
That's interesting. That's really fascinating, actually.
So follow-up question while you think. Okay, so yeah, you have your moonshot goals. You mentioned first your business, which is an incredible moonshot in itself. It's really brave. Then you mentioned your health and all of that. The question is, how do you make sure that once you fail, you sort of rebuild your goals? Is there a way to revisit these moonshot goals of yours, or do you keep them as is, frozen in the ground?
I just received the book yesterday.
Pivoting as a way of life.
So every time I fail or anything I'm shooting for, whether I reach it or not, within a year, probably within 6 months, there's going to be a new target and a new way of doing things. So I have just applied this concept of being agile, which I used to think was crazy for just software developers, to just everything I do. Like if my schedule's not working, just rip it up and do a new schedule. I used to be the guy who's like, okay, this is my schedule for the year, or this is the sport. I'm going to do tennis twice a week and running 4 times a week. Now, if it's not working for me, I'll just I'm not getting stuck on doing anything in a routine manner. Like just being open to change every day, and not because I want to change, but because maybe the market, the results, the objective have changed. And a lot of that's often out of my control. And so it's the hardest thing in the world to be okay with never having routine. And because you're always striving for routine, but at the same time, sometimes you should stop you should change, but you're so addicted to the routine and the comfort of that you don't rupture everything. And I've become very adept at being agile and rupturing things. If I don't reach it, I don't make it, and I don't keep it and be like, I got to do it again. Like if, like, you know, for example, Humantelligence, I have failed like basically 4 companies over the last 8 years, and I failed at each one. And each time I'm like, okay, I'm going to change these things. I'm going to still try to make it. This is the year that I'm saying, okay, if I can't make it, then I am not the right guy to run this company, and this is no longer the chapter for me in my life. And I'm going to hang up the boots and not keep holding on, even though I've invested millions of dollars, my own money, my roommate from college's money, and other people's money. I've given her my all, and I'm okay with that, right? Like it's been an amazing run. I've learned more in this challenge and have been more fulfilled by this challenge. Even if it's the greatest failure of my life, it will have become my greatest fulfilling moment of my life, ironically as that sounds.
And how does one pivot so quickly? How do you not get stuck in emotions? And yeah, how do you reinvent yourself so quickly?
That I give credit to having done psychedelics, either ayahuasca or psilocybin, and the combination over all these years. It really puts my ego in check, because it's your ego. It's your, what they call the default modal network. It's a structure in your brain that attaches value, good or bad, to things. Your soul, which manages like a horse on a jockey, the jockey on the horse being your animal and your ego, the jockey being this kind of soul that has only joy, abundance, and love. I can vibrate and more consistently stay in this place of soul, third-party observer, and not be reactive to outcomes, and not be reactive to other people, and not be reactive to putting emotion and tying it to something I've created. And so it's through that work where I don't let those things get to me.
I think we talked about it last time, the equilibrium between the esoteric and the reality. I mean, you're a good example of that, a businessman, but also highly spiritual. I guess, or default mode is reality, right? I guess. And how do you make sure not to lose yourself when you're doing these back-to-back ceremonies? How do you make sure to stay anchored in reality, or is it something that you just let go and you don't even think of?
The key to going deep is to let go and just trust the process. It's very easy to say after having done it so many times, but at the end of the day, ayahuasca, or DMT, the chemical substance in ayahuasca, and psilocybin, all they're doing is allowing you to access what you do when you meditate. So if you flip your question to anyone who meditates every day, who's never done plant medicine, and if they're wondering, well, what is this kind of plant medicine like? All it is doing meditation. And even though when you meditate, you can quiet your mind, you never feel like you're letting go of reality. It's right there. Just because you're going deeper in doesn't mean you're letting go of reality. It's still right there. And just like a dream, you go to bed and you leave your body when you're dreaming, and you are seeing in your mind crazy ass shit in your dreams. All it takes is someone coughing next to you or poking your body while you're sleeping to open your eyes, and you're back in your body from millions of miles away in another consciousness, another dimension. In a split second, you're back in reality. Ayahuasca, psilocybin, all these tools are the same. Yes, you close your eyes, all of a sudden you're in another dimension, but just as quickly, you're right back here. Reality is literally just as much as those dimensions are concurrent and like a slice of a hair away, so is reality in coming back. Now, one caveat and one PS note, very important. If somebody has had a psychotic break, or is on depression medication, or has fragmentation of who they are already, they should not do those things, because they might not find their way back. So anybody who's really mentally damaged, everything I just told you, do not go do these things, because that is dangerous.
Right. Important disclaimer. What do your Harvard friends have to say about this? And don't you feel that if most leaders would be more open-minded, we would have a better society and better operating businesses nowadays?
Oh yeah, I mean, if you could put this in the water supply, all the world's ills would be solved, and you would have love, kumbaya everywhere. I used to think of opening an ice cream shop where every flavor would be a different plant. Like, here's your ayahuasca ice cream. Here's your psilocybin. Here's your peyote, and you'd have to have a over 18 license to go in, but you could basically eat ice cream with all these things, kind of like put in the water spout. One day when I have a lot of money, or like Elon Musk can do it. But my Harvard friends or other people, like the only people who don't think I'm crazy are the ones who've known me for 50 years, and they know that I never tried substance. I didn't try marijuana until I was 50. I never drank alcohol in college, and I was a world-class soccer player, played on Harvard, starting striker, leading scorer. I was in a fraternity, played in Europe after college. Like I was the typical jock who typically do drugs and alcohol. I never touched anything. And until the age of 44, almost 40, never touched anything, not any substance. So it was very conservative. I used to think things were bad. If somebody did marijuana, they were a bad person, and I wouldn't talk to them. So people who I know for all these years, when they hear I do it, they're like, oh my God, if Juan Betancourt is doing it, he's the most conservative guy in the world. It must be safe. Also, I only do psilocybin and ayahuasca or DMT in a ceremonial, intentional setting. I don't do recreational drugs. I don't want to do ecstasy. I don't want to do LSD. I don't want to do all those things. I don't do it to party, and I don't do it to escape. I do it to go deep inside, like a deep meditation. And that's very different. So that's how I differentiate it.
Juan, thanks for your time. No, we're on time here. Where can people find out more about you?
They can go to humantelligence.com, or they can just go to LinkedIn to Juan Luis, Luis Betancourt. There's a lot of Juan Betancourts. And one movie recommendation I just saw that came out in November 2024. Fun, keeps you on your edge. You'll never guess the end. It is awesome. If you like spirituality and consciousness, it also can check that box. It's called It's What's Inside, as the title, It Is What Is Inside, but abbreviated. It's What's Inside. Netflix, about an hour and a half. Unbelievable whodunit type of movie. It's unbelievable. You got to watch that movie.